Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Vivek,
How are you guys?
All good, thank you.
are you interested in uh, technology that's being coming about?
Which technology?
Future technology.
Sorry, which one?
Excuse me.
No, which technology are you referring to, Sam?
Well, last night I was reading something, and then I thought of Regina Dugan, one of the founders of Google's advanced technology and projects. Remember, Google bought Motorola Mobility
Yeah.
for 2 years and then sold it. So when they bought it, they started a division at Microsoft, pardon me, Motorola, called Advanced Technology and Projects.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they sold Motorola Mobility to Lenovo 2 years, they kept it. So it's kind of interesting what ATEP is doing now.
Okay, so is there a,
Uh,
so do you have a link, etc., you can share where I can read
I
more
sent
about
it
it?
to you over YouTube. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested, but in terms of, is there a company that is working on it? Is there an IPO? If it is still private, then yeah, it's from a understanding technologies, it is interesting, but I don't think we can build any investment thesis on it. But yeah, do put it in the chat, and yeah, if I find time, I'll look through that. Okay. All right. So today we are meeting on a different schedule. Thank you for joining in. Yesterday I was out attending that um, that workshop that I think in the previous Saturday Nyanka had shared from a Charles Schwab. So I did learn a few new things. Maybe next Saturday I'll talk about it. Um, in that workshop. I mean, most of the time I spent was outside of the hall where they had a couple of booths where there were some think or swim experts. And if you have questions, you can ask them. I learned a lot more over there than inside the hall because inside the hall they were talking about a little bit of a macro, how to use options. That was all very basic stuff, which we have covered many times here. So I didn't find it that I would say knowledgeable. So I went out and but did find some good information. So I will
Yeah. I,
probably cover that in the next week.
I attended something similar about 2 months ago in Anaheim, close to Disneyland in LA.
Mhm.
And it was held by Charles Schwab as well. Um, so yeah, exactly the same as you said. I think just talking to people, because when you can ask them specific questions, it was useful.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I met a few folks from our group. I
Oh,
met
nice.
Jay in person. We were like in the corridor, and then suddenly I saw Jay, like, hey, Vivek, and then I, met Dipen and Niyanka. So yeah, it was good to meet few people in person.
Nice. So was this a 2-day thing as well? So Friday and
No, so this was just one day. So looks like they did another session earlier in July in Bay Area, which was like more workshop. That was a 2-day workshop. So they did refer, Ben and some of the folks that you see on Schwab Network, they were there. Ben Watson was there. Kevin was there. Kevin Green was there. I took a selfie with Kevin Green because I've heard him on a lot of spaces. So yeah, these folks were there, but they did mention that in a July there was a 2-day workshop which was like little more in depth. And I think that was more on the technical side, I guess. But this one was just for a day, and agenda was like a little bit of a macro, then on how to build a portfolio, then using options. I think there were four sessions of 1 hour each. Then, of course, meet and greet at the end for networking, an hour for there. But this was not 2 days session, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Yeah, because we are meeting on a off, not our regular time. So I don't know how many people will be able to join in today, but I really wanted to not cancel this session. So I moved my Sunday game. I said, okay, I'll not go for play, but let me spend some time out here uh, talking about investing. What else did you guys notice?
What was the game, just out of curiosity?
No, I actually every Sunday I go for a volleyball game. I've been doing it
Okay.
for 10 years. They asked me to come on Saturday because they have a fewer players on Saturday, or Sunday becomes more crowded. Instead of a 12, we end up on 14 and 15 people. Then we have to rotate, play 7 and 8 and rotate. So I
Yeah.
told them I can't come on Saturday. They, why don't know? I have my meetup. So I go only on Sundays. So, but because we didn't meet yesterday, so I told them I'm not coming today. Uh, and I don't know. So today the whole team, we are organizing a lunch. I'm like, gosh, dude, you have to organize a lunch only when I'm not attending, coming for the game. Uh, anyway, so yeah, so I saw WhatsApp messages saying, guys, let's, after the game, let's have a lunch together. And anyway, well, this is more fun. So what do I have? So I did online. There was an online Tesla WeRobot event which I attended. It was delayed by almost an hour. It was supposed to start at 7 p.m. Pacific, but it eventually started almost at 8 o'clock. But yeah, I'll share my thoughts on this. And I mean, anyway, we looked at the stock price didn't do really react positively to that event. So I'll cover that event. A couple of things from a previous session was, I think who asked me, it was Satish. You you know, wanted to talk about how to make a decision to sell. So my idea was maybe let's talk about that. Other thing wanted to cover was Mind the Gap study, some takeaways from that. What else I have in mind? There is a new IPO on the block from Cerebras Systems, which is an AI company. I haven't got a time to go through the S1, but I did, look into the major salient points. So we'll talk a little bit about that. What else? I wanted to review. I think, yeah, these are the things that I have on agenda. What else you want to talk about? Any other thing?
I'm just curious to see where the fear and greed index is. So
Yeah,
I'm
that
curious,
I'll
you always
definitely look
include
at. I
that.
mean, few things which are pretty standard is looking at a little bit of a fear and greed index. What did I buy, sell? Yeah, so we'll go through that. All right, so I guess let's.
So just
Vivek,
when you get to option strategies, I've got a few questions there, so I'll just ask them then.
Oh no, I mean, if you have a question, ask me on the line. I put options like some of these like market review option strategies is a maybe I can share some information which is I think is pretty important, and I did not know about it, which I learned yesterday, and maybe let's start our discussion with that. So I think during the option boot camp, I talked about the fact that if you think that your option has expired out of money, let's say you sold a put, and let's say you sold a put at $100 and the stock at expiration day is 101, and you're pretty happy. Hey, it expired out of money, right? So go and party. And then in after hours, right? Let's say the stock falls down to, sorry, in after hours, stock falls down to 99, and then you get because there is an hour or 30 minutes window in which you could still exercise. So you probably will get assigned, but now you can't do anything because next day when Monday the stock opens and it opens at 60, 70, you're kind of sitting on a huge loss, right? So we looked at a case study of how a Tesla um, a trader who had sold, I think, 5 contracts of put spread in which the losses were kind of limited to, was it 5,000, 25,000, whatever, the only the limited loss, how eventually, end up losing tens of thousands of dollars because of after hour movement in Tesla stock. Right. So something new which I found yesterday is something that's called cashless exercise. And what that means is if you have a stock, taking example of, let's say you sold a short put at 100, and let's say if that gets in after hour and that stock falls down to 99, and then you're gonna get assigned. But then you don't want to take a risk of holding the stock over the weekend, right? Because you don't know on Monday where the stock might open at 85, right? Then you're staring at a much bigger loss. So what at least the Charles Schwab folks told me that you can't do it on your platform. You have to call up the trade desk and tell them that I want to do a cashless exercise. That means, and they know that you will be assigned the stock. So they know that you're going to have a stock in your portfolio because you're a short put, which is now in the money. What they can do is to sell the stock immediately at whatever the market price is. Right? So it's or on the other hand, what could happen? Let's say if you had bought a call and it is when you on a Friday expiration, it is in the money. So it means you're gonna get your call will be exercised because it is 1 cent in the money, and you will get the stocks in your portfolio. But you don't want to take a risk that on Monday the stocks open lower, then you're sitting on the losses, right? Let's say you bought a call at 100 and the stock expires at 105. So surely you're gonna get assigned, right? You have a long call, so you will basically get auto exercise. But now, at the end of a Friday, it's 105. So you are $5 in profit, but then you have a weekend risk, and you don't know, maybe on come Monday, what if it opens at 95? You're gonna get the shares at in your portfolio, but now the shares are down $10. So instead, you call up your trade desk and tell them, I want to sell my shares right now. So they will do a cashless exercise because they know for sure that you're gonna get a shares in your portfolio because you bought a call at 100. They can immediately sell at the back end the shares at the current market price, which is 105, so that you can lock in the profit of $5 per share. So this is something which I wasn't aware of. I mean, I never had to go through this. But in case if you want to avoid the weekend risk of waiting for an assignment to happen, and then when the stock opens on Monday, there is a risk involved in it. So you could call up the trade desk, and like, you can't do it online. You have to call up the trade desk and tell them, I want to do a cashless exercise, and they know that it is 1 cent in the money. So you're gonna get your long call is gonna get exercised. So you will have shares in your portfolio, and they can sell the shares in after hours at whatever the current market price is, which in our example is 105, so that you can lock in that $5 gain. Okay, something new that I learned. Thought I'll share. I'll probably may cover it next week also.
So in this, do you see any specific benefits in this cashless exercise over just going in and closing the trade yourself before the close of market bell rings, or
Yeah, so either you close it before the market and take the gain on your long call option, right? If you do that, then I mean there is there is no option which is still open, so there is no question of being exercised, right? But
yeah.
if you have not closed your trade, right, and or let's say during let me put it this way, it's Friday evening, you have a long call at 100, stock is sitting at 90 or 99.5, you're like, oh, it's not gonna get assigned. And then let's say in an after hour, stock moves to $100.50. And then you probably will gonna, I don't know in this case you will get assigned or not. But but in any case, if you have not closed your trade and if it is in the money on your long call option, and then you don't want to wait over the weekend for the stock to appear in your portfolio, then sell it, you just call up a trade desk and ask them to do it for you. What he told me, they can do it over the back end because they know for sure
Right.
that your call is more than 1 cent in the money, so you're gonna get the stocks, and there is no risk in on the brokerage firm to actually sell the stock at the current market price, and hence you can lock in the gains.
So, okay, so you can actually call them over a weekend. I didn't realize that.
Not the weekend, not the weekend.
Not the weekend.
Like an hour after the market close.
Just an hour after.
Just an hour after. So that's the window in which they can do do the transaction on your behalf to sell the stock that is probably gonna come into your portfolio at the current market price. So hence you avoid the risk of stock going down over the weekend, and when I open on Monday, if the stock is at 95, that's okay. You still sold it at 105.
At what point are you safe? Like if you think your option's out of the money, if you sold it, the market closes, like at what point are you safe?
So it is well, we caught it and I forgot what it's like 90 minutes after market close, or was it 30 minutes after market close? So there is a time limit after market close that your options, let's say if you sold an option, you could still get exercised. So it's not at a close of market, like not at 4 p.m. EST. I'll have to probably look back, or
Okay, I can
maybe
look into it too.
if you can look into that assignment, moneyness and assignment video where we cover the whole exercise and assignment part. I talked about it in that session in the options bootcamp. So there is a time window. So either you close all your option trades before it, if you still have something open, and if it is pretty close to where the stock is, the strike price is pretty close to where the stock currently is, there's a chance that you may get assigned to the after hour movement happen in the stock. Okay. All right. Any other question? So that was something new. I was not aware. I've not heard of that cashless exercise before. So that was entirely new learning for me. Not that have anytime I have had a chance where I have to depend on this one, because I generally will close my option trade and not let it, go over the weekend if it's pretty close to the strike price. Oh,
One more question.
go ahead.
So for example, if I'm selling a put against QQQ, from practical life experience, is it better to sell a vertical spread so that we end up using less buying power?
Yes, unless you have a portfolio margin account wherein the buying power used is anyway, you get a lot more leeway in a buying power. It is advisable to sell a spread. Even you could go wider on a spread, but that will contain your buying power, right? Let's take an example. let's say QQQ, right? You talked about QQQ.
Yes.
Okay. You can see my thing cursor on screen.
Yeah.
All right, let's say you don't have a portfolio margin and it's like a cash. Let's say you have a cash account. It means
Yeah.
it's a cash secured put. Now I'm going out 33 days and I'm trying to sell a put at let's say 490 at the money, right? So this is gonna consume 49,000 um dollars. It's gonna block $49,000, right, out of your overall portfolio balance. It's a cash secured put, so you can't use that $49,000 for anything else. Right? So instead of doing this, maybe you could go back and let's say it's 490 and 400. In this case, you collect what, $10.56 as a premium,
Yeah.
right? Maybe go back and do 390. How much premium did you sacrifice? 50 cents, 55 cents, right? But look at the buying power. Now, in this case, the buying power is only 10,000. So you sacrificed
Just $56.
5%
Yeah.
of the premium, but you reduce your buying power from $49,000 to $10,000. And then, because now the maximum risk in this trade for the brokerage firm and for you is only $10,000. QQQ goes down, doesn't matter where it goes. You can't lose more than $10,000. Right? So in this case, yeah, it's okay to sacrifice 55 cents of a premium, but contain this buying power so that you can use this buying power maybe to do trade on SPY or on Apple or on other stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. And also typically, I mean, the markets are incredibly high right now, and God knows where they will go. So a typical trade would then be maybe around the typical spread, I assume, would be like more around the 470, 370 kind of spread rather than 490, because I'd probably just get
Oh
assigned.
yeah, I mean, don't go by the strike price, right? If I
Sure.
want to do it, I won't do this one. But again, that really depends on our outlook of where the market is, what's gonna do or not. Or do you still want to do a bullish trade, or you want to do a bearish trade, and all that stuff, right? So I am not doing any bullish trade on I mean, because I already hold a tech stocks in my portfolio.
Yeah.
So on a QQQ, mostly do a bearish trades. So that if
Yeah.
if the QQQ continues to go higher, I lose an option, but I gain a lot more on my portfolio side. But yeah, it depends on what's your outlook is. Generally, if I'm not overly bullish, I'll go to around 30 delta and have my short put at near 30 delta, which in this case it would be okay. I don't see the deltas here. Okay, it would be close to 28 475.
Yeah.
So this will give me around 60 70% probability of profit. You need level 3 to use margin buyer. Uh, Not, I don't get, so Ramesh, I didn't get your question exactly. Which margin are you referring to? I mean, so there are different levels of margin. One is a regular T margin, it's like run by Reg T, which is, I think if you have more than $25,000, uh, it could be brokerage to brokerage specific. I know in TD Ameritrade, it was more than $25,000 you have, you'll get a Reg T margin. Then if you want a portfolio margin wherein you have to put up only, you get a leverage which isn't more than real estate, you get to put up only 15% of the capital. Then Tastyworks have that if you have 150K, you have to request for a portfolio margin, they'll do it. In TD Ameritrade, I actually had to pass a test. So they administer a test on options just to make sure that you understand. They don't want to give portfolio margin to everyone who doesn't understand what kind of you don't know what you're getting into, so they'll administer a test which you have to basically take online, and then if you pass this test, then they have kind of idea that, okay, you know what you're doing, you understand the risk and everything, you know what gamma is, how the risk changes, what's the risk involved in short puts or the naked options, and then I got a portfolio margin. But Tastyworks, if you have more than 150K, they'll give you portfolio margin, but you have to request for it. They don't enable it by default. So that gives you, decent enough leverage if you want to really use that leverage. Let's say, okay, this is a paper account, so I can't show it here, but for me, let's say if I were to sell a put at 500, it's not gonna, my buying power that will be blocked is not gonna be $50,000. For me, it will be $5,000, or $7,500 because of a portfolio margin. You need level 3 to use margin for options. Not necessarily. Maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, level 3 will allow you to do, and again, levels are different or different brokerages. Some brokerages have, but I guess you're asking for the highest level. So highest level will allow you to do the naked calls, which is considered as the most risky one. But I think you can still get, okay, I don't remember. I don't know what's their margin requirements or margins are.
I have level 4 and I use only 15%, or depending on stock, of course. It could be
Yeah.
100% also, right?
Yeah, depending on the stock. Yeah, some stocks, they don't qualify for margin, etc. But yeah.
Right. But my son has an open account. He just recently opened it and he's got about 800K in there, but they were withholding 100%. So I asked the question, so because he has level 2. I don't understand why, but I got to deal with it.
Ask him to. So which brokerages is that?
E-Trade now is Morgan Stanley.
Okay. Ask him to put 150K in Tastyworks, and request for a portfolio margin, they'll just do it.
Well, yeah, a couple more trades and I'll ask him to bump up to level 3. I have
Yeah.
level 4, so I naked call, which I never want to do or will do rather.
Yeah.
Naked call is risky. So
Yeah. I mean, it's good to have that privilege. So whether you use it or not, that's different, but at least good to have that privilege.
yeah, I mean, covered calls and sell put, never buy any puts.
Yeah. In any case, so again, I
Right.
don't work for Tastyworks, but let's say if your son, if they are not giving level 3 because, hey, you don't have a good enough history of trading, etc. If you open an account with Tastyworks, they'll immediately give you what they call as a works level, which means you can do everything under the sun. Because they say we know how to manage our own risk at a broker level, so we don't want to restrict you. We'll manage our own risk, and they'll give you all level of privilege, even when you just start your account. And I think once you have more than 150K, it requests for a portfolio margin, then enable portfolio margin. Because I just did it, I opened a new joint account, and I transferred money and I requested a portfolio margin. They sent me an email. Do you don't have 150K? Because of course I had to do an account transfer. So when my transfer from individual to joint account finished, immediately they enabled a portfolio margin in my joint account also.
Yeah, I opened an account and I got authority to trade on his behalf. I got $2,000 bonus for putting in 500K.
Oh, good. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, I'll let you continue. Thank you.
All right. So let's jump into today's sessions. Today, everyone is profitable in the market. Doesn't matter when you bought. In the history of the US stock market, you are still profitable because SPY was like all-time high on Friday. I don't think it closed on all-time high, but you get the point. We hit $580 plus whatever 33 cents was the new all-time high. So yeah, no one is a loser in market today. irrespective of whenever you bought. Of course, if you're not did a day trade that you bought at the peak and now you're a little waiting at dollar or two below. But good day in the market on Friday. I don't know what's driving it. I think again now the earnings season is coming up, so we'll get to know is this optimism really warranted, or is there a good thing to see is that there's a rotation happening in the market. It's not only the big Mac 7 which are driving, right? Like Nvidia is has been high for what, 6, 7, 8% for the week. Of course, that is driving this SPY to higher, but a lot of other 493 stocks have started to perform, right? Tesla was down, so Tesla is not contributing towards this, but good to see. So congratulations to you all who have stayed invested. Didn't get scared out in October 2022 when the markets were like kind of a bear. So we are almost at the 2-year anniversary of this bull market. So so-called the bull market started back, the market reverse in October 2022. Let's go back to SPY and look at that was a low point. Let me go look at 3-year one day. Right, 348, 1013. Oh, this is exactly today is 13th. We can go. It's like 2-year anniversary of SPY. Imagine 350 to 580. What does that mean? 350 to 580. That means 30 divided by 350. 65% in from its bottom in October to Friday. 65%. I mean, this is where we talk about don't time the market. If you just stayed invested in it, didn't get scared out because, hey, you didn't need that money. I mean, you shouldn't put it in the market if you need it for next 2 years. Imagine if you had taken this money out, you missed out on all the 65% upside on the market. So that's why don't try to time it. And today, when gonna review the Mind the Gap study, it'll tell us, how those who've been trying to time the market, how much, they continue to lose. So congratulations. Nothing better. Market has been climbing. All sort of worries. Doesn't matter. We got an election coming up. We have a war happening, kind of a war in two places. So much of geopolitical uncertainty on the China, Taiwan. What's going to happen? We don't know. Recession may be coming. Fed is increasing the interest rates. Doesn't matter. Markets looks like there's nothing that has stopped the market. Of course, it has got its own ups and downs. In a few weeks, few months, August 5th, that week, SPY fell down like 5%. Then we had a scare in the first week of September, but overall, still pretty good. So 1 week performance, Nvidia was up like 8%. But look at the financials. So financials, now we are back into earnings season. Financials are the first one to report the earnings. So they kind of kick off the earnings season on Friday. Financials reported the earnings. The biggest one, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo. I think I don't own individual stocks in finance, banks, individual stocks. So I just own XLF. So I didn't get into the details of what each of the banks have reported. But I think the overall theme is still Jamie Dimon is always a little more cautious in his tone. But I did hear that he got a little bit agitated because the analysts kept asking him about the impact on net interest margin, and that kind of pissed him off and he lost a little bit of his composure. I did hear the recording on, I think it's playing on CNBC in the background. So I know that, but JP Morgan is up like 5% for a week, Wells Fargo up 7%. Pretty good. All financials almost green. So I think at least this earnings season, the start is good. We'll figure out what the big techs do, which have got a lot more, they can move the market more than what financial would, but we'll see. NVIDIA is up 8% for the year. Because maybe Jensen Huang, he finished selling all the stocks that he, based on whatever his planned sales were. But yeah, Apple, Google, Microsoft, not much. Google have its own concerns around Justice Department is now proposing to break up Google into multiple companies as a part of a remedy against that antitrust case. So maybe we'll get into the details sometime later. But the Google has got 3 cases going against it from different regulators. One is around their antitrust, another one is around their ad technology, and the third one is that they favor their own properties in search results. So this one currently is an antitrust case, and Google was found guilty by a judge in July, I guess, June, July, somewhere a few months ago. And right now they're in a process of so-called remedy. That means government justice department will suggest what the remedy should be to fix this antitrust or monopolistic behavior. I think judge has given a timeline that they will, he'll start looking at it somewhere March next year, and will finalize the decision by August next year. So it's not that they're going to break up the Google right now. It's going to be a multi-year process. Only after a judge picks up a certain remedy and gives a decision, Google will then be able to appeal for the decision, right? So decision will come by August next year, and then the appeal process will start, and maybe it'll be a couple of years at least before we get to know what's going to happen with Google. So, but markets are short term. Moment you see that the Justice Department has recommended as part of a remedy to break Google up, Google stock sold off a little bit. It was down for the week as like 2.4%. Tesla, we'll talk about Tesla. What else? I think everything else is okay. Utilities were a little down, but utilities have been best performing sector anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Overall, I think still fine. Markets have been doing good. Sector-wise performance. Right. Information technology, communications, basically the tech companies are back on the leaderboard. It's up 32% year to date. Right. Financials are up 23%. Utilities up 25%. All driven by AI. So top 3 are driven by AI. Financials driven by good results, and of course the financials are financials and the real estate. These sectors didn't perform as well, in so well in 2022. These are considered more on the value side. Now we are seeing the rotation happening with financials doing well as well. Even if you've not tried anything, I don't know about technology. I'm not a techie guy. Okay, I have no idea about how finance works, or utilities are, these are utilities are a grandparents to who wants to put in utility. If you've not done anything but just invested in S&P 500, you're still up 22% for the year. It beats any of your CDs hands down, or of course you need to keep something for emergency fund, and this is not guaranteed that it will go up 20% year over year. So you have to make sure the money that you need in next couple of 2 to 3 years at least, you don't put in the market. Everything else should be working for you. And as I looked at from an October low to today, it's up 65%. We didn't have to pick the next hot stock. Even if we're not done that, we're still up 22% for the year. Yeah. That's the beauty of a capital markets. I see a comment. Nvidia bought in 2018, cost which is 6.8. It's a good problem to have. Exactly. Don't worry about it. So someone wanted to know for fear and greed index, it still shows a 74, exactly where we finished it last week. Previous week it was 74. This week also it is 74. So I'm still cautious. You know, be what was the Warren Buffett said, right? Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. So I'll still on, maintain my deltas, not gonna go overly crazy or try to chase this. We will get opportunities. I'm not getting out of the market. If market continues to go higher, sure, I'll enjoy the ride. But I'm being a little cautious, right? If I have money on the sideline, I want to invest in, I'll probably hold back, might get an opportunity. Not really trying to time the market because that really doesn't work. So that's why I'm not taking out money from the market, but uh, sometimes some caution won't hurt me. So I'll be a little cautious. Same status as last week. All right, so update on the portfolio side. I bought a little bit of a TSM. This is refilling the tank because uh, July I'd sold some TSM because my call spread was in the money, and now the shares have corrected a little bit of since then. So I bought it back, refilled my tank, and I still have an option trade on TSM. SPY, I bought SPY to cover my, the short shares that I held. And I think I still have some short shares on SPY. I've not covered it fully, just because still maintaining, a little bit of negative deltas. But I did cover a little bit earlier this week. And good thing I covered that because on a Friday it hit a new all-time high, right? Who knew? I didn't know about it. I was just trying to maintain my deltas. So those are the only two stocks that I bought. I still hold short QQQ. I have not covered that fully. I think probably I will cover SPY before I start covering QQQ. So didn't sell any stocks, still holding everything. Maybe next week, which is October expiration, I depending on which stocks, which call spreads are in the money, maybe I'll sell something. But at least for 11th October, I had to do nothing. What else? Earnings. So earnings seasons is kicked off. So next week we're gonna get some interesting earnings. What do we have? Tuesday, Monday's market closed. What holiday do we have on Monday? Oh, what is on Monday?
Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever you want to
Oh,
call
it's
it.
the Indigenous People Day. Okay. Okay, Columbus. I know my daughter told me that her school is closed. I asked her what's holiday. She said it's a teacher's learning day. So she probably didn't realize that it's a Indigenous People Day or Columbus Day. Okay, and then it occurred to me that, you know, of course I like, okay, if it's a teachers learning that, then why would the markets be closed? All right, so we figure out something else to do on Monday. By the way, just yesterday I started a new book. Probably I think I'm just gonna read that. The book is The Money Trap. It's by the ex CFO and former president of SoftBank Group. I heard about, I think this Alok Sama, he was interviewed on one of a podcast, and then I really heard, I mean, I really like what he said, so I just started on this book. Maybe I'll use that Monday to read through that book. Anyway, so Monday is nothing much happening. Tuesday, Johnson and Johnson. What else? Yeah, okay, not much. Wednesday, we got some ASML, which is cool. So we'll see after that. I mean, TSMC reported their monthly result in terms of their monthly output. Their revenue is up 40%, 39%, 39 point some percent year over year for the month of September. So yeah, chips are, they're still hot. So hopefully ASML should have, after TSMC numbers came out, ASML stocks jumped anyway. But we'll see what they show up in results. Oh, what else I'm interested in? Any other stock you're interested in on Tuesday or Wednesday? Nothing else. Okay, Thursday it's TSMC, so we're gonna review TSMC also. Don't hold anything else. Don't hold anything else. SLB like Schlumberger. No, so looks like two stocks which I hold. I mean, three stocks. I hold Johnson and Johnson, but I'm not to actively look at Johnson and Johnson. But yeah, ASML, TSMC. We'll review the earnings next week of these two, unless there is something else that you guys want me to look at. Alrighty, let's talk about Tesla and WeRobot event. How many of you actually attended Tesla WeRobot? Or at least not at, I mean, if you were able to attend it in person, that's great. But how many of you actually watched it, live streaming? No one? Alrighty, so this will be hopefully fun. So let's see what Tesla did during the WeRobot. So Tesla, this was one of the most anticipated event for Tesla. Okay, so Ramesh says he did. Cool. So if you remember in August, Tesla was supposed to unveil their robotaxi, which they did not, and they postponed it to October. And there was a lot of anticipation that was being built in, what's Elon gonna do? What is Tesla gonna unveil on 10/10? And at least the market had an expectation of probably we'll get a more details on launch of a low-cost vehicle, right? Codenamed as Model 2. We will get to know what the timeline for a robotaxi is. Along with robotaxi, Tesla may unveil another vehicle. And then, of course, we were looking for more detailed information, right? So razzmatazz of Tesla and the big vision of Elon Musk, we've heard it many times. Like we hear it in all the conference calls. It's all about vision. And market was looking to get a little more details on how we are progressing against that vision, right? When will that vision be implemented? So what did Tesla came up with? Number one, they unveiled cyber cabs, right? So cyber cabs is what the name for the robo taxis is. It has got no steering. The cost of cyber cab, over time will be 20 cents per mile, as compared to today. If you take a cab, the average cost is around dollar per mile, right? And what Elon, again, this is like what Elon says is over time the cost of travel will come down, and it will be like 20 cents if you take a cyber cab, which is pretty good. The cost of the cyber cab itself is expected to be near 30,000, close to 30,000. So imagine now you get a cyber cab at a cost of near $30,000, and it's going to earn money for you. Once you put on the Tesla robotaxi network, it's going to go pick up passengers, drop it, and gonna make money for you. And at a much cheaper cost is only 20 cents. So it's kind of the whole idea is going to revolutionize how we view transportation. What's the need to own a car? We don't own any power plants. We never own. It's a utility, right? Power is utility. So all I need is that when I turn on my switch, my bulb should glow. So similar could become for transportation. When I want to go somewhere, I should have a car ready in front of me. It doesn't really matter whether I own that car or not, right? So the whole idea is robotaxis will enable that vision, and transportation will just become a utility. What he also mentioned that we're gonna start fully autonomous, unsupervised FSD in Texas and California next year with Model 3 and Model Y, right? And so today we know Waymo is already there, but Tesla is not there when it comes to autonomous. But let's say plan is that it'll start next year with Model 3 and Model Y. When asked about when the cyber cab, when can we actually start buying a cyber cab, when it will be available for sale, we didn't really get any clear-cut answer. All he said that it is expected to be in production by 2026, right? And then someone asked a question, 2026 means when? He said, okay, before 2027. So knowing Elon, you can discount the timelines. I mean, he also agrees that he's never, he's too optimistic with his timeline. So you can discount it by whatever years you may want to discount. But this is what came from Elon's mouth is before 2027, which means another close to maybe 2 years. We're already near the end of 2024. So we should have the cyber cabs. And
Vivek,
yeah.
as a bike rider, those SUVs are bad. Pardon me, those SUVs are bad enough. But because of the did I mention it last week that they have like 700 pounds of more torque? But then they got these cyber trucks. You can't look around it. You can't look above it. It is really bad for street safety. It's really bad. It's awful. Luckily, I've only seen one or two.
Okay.
It's very dangerous.
Okay. I mean, I see Cybertrucks here like way more in last 1 year. Now it's become pretty common. Earlier, I didn't like it because the shape is really odd. But now I think my eyes are getting used to the odd shape of Cybertruck. I don't feel it when I look at it, I don't feel it that. But I guess you get
No, but
used to it.
can you look past it? Can you look around it? You can't. It's blocking the view.
Yeah.
Even SUV, right? What do you drive?
No, I have a sedan. My wife has an
Oh,
SUV.
no.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So, but
thank
yeah,
you. Vivek,
Cybertruck is
thank you for
huge.
driving a sedan.
Cybertruck is huge, but I don't know. I mean, doesn't like big trucks like Silverado, etc. And then if you cover the back, they are of like similar size, like Cybertruck. I guess so. I mean,
Well, do you
Americans
know how
love huge
wide it
cars.
is? It covers the entire lane. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
And,
Americans love big cars. So don't.
oh
I mean, we can't say in America, oh, this car is big. Oh no, it's not big enough. We can give you bigger one.
no, there should be some laws against it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'll send you a video.
so anyway, the I know I can't change that. Cybertruck is what it is. If you don't like it, don't buy it. No, but the what he mentioned that all the cars, Model 3, Model Y, Model X, including Cybertruck, will eventually be equipped with the robotaxi software, whatever goes into their cyber cab, because all is controlled by one company, right? So and so those were the so-called details that we had. And other thing is it is inductive charging. So no more plugging into the outlet. Probably wherever they'll probably have some inductive chargers. Car will go and stand on those inductive charging mat and get charged automatically. We don't know. We don't know the details. These were the words that came out of Elon's mouth. Someone has to convert those words into reality. But these are some of the images Tesla later on shared around their cyber cab in terms of how it looks like. So let's look into two more images of there we go, robot taxi details, right? So it looks pretty futuristic, right? I mean, compared with what if you look at the Waymo cars and oh, this is minivan. Okay, only four. Okay, or any other car, this looks pretty good. The question is, when are we gonna get it? When this dream will become reality? So not much details on that one. We don't know. I mean, 2027, it will before 2027, it will go in production. When it will be available for sale, we don't know. Okay. Other new product that they unveiled was Robo Van, right? If you didn't know what this was, if you're not attending live stream, you might be wondering what the heck is this, right? It's like a butter holder or whatever. So, but this is like a van, again, developed on the similar platform, drive by itself. It can carry up to 20 people and could be used for goods transportation also, right? You can transport goods in it. Few more pictures of van. Let's look at the van. These are the pictures that Tesla released after the event. This is how they look like. This is how the interior look like. So looks pretty futuristic. Third thing that they updated was around their humanoid robot, Optimus. At least we were able to get some range of what it would gonna cost. It will be around 20K to 30K. And in Elon's his own word, in his own dream, he said this is going to be biggest product of any kind, and we did see Optimus robots. They were walking among the crowd. They were serving drinks at the bar. At least I saw one video wherein the Optimus is kind of pouring, I think, maybe water out of the faucet and handing it to an attendee. We saw robots dancing. This was a glass and casing it with, there were a lot of Optimus robots and they were dancing to the tune of songs. This is the robots pouring water in the glass, or maybe it was beer, who knows. So, and we did see, I mean, we did share about in terms of what he envisaged as the future of Optimus robots is helping you to do all the household chores, right? Serving you, or working in the kitchen, mopping, doing dishes, picking up packages, etc. So this is like your personalized assistant available for you, which can do your household chores, right? So, and if you look at Elon and maybe the analyst at the ARK, they point out the whole market, the value of these markets in trillions of dollars, 20 trillion, 30 trillion, who knows? Those analysts are always overly optimistic, right? If only they were right, Tesla share should be trading at least $1,500. But Tesla share is at close to 200, so you know how off they have been. Anyway, so these were the three main things. One was cyber cab, which is I think what the world wanted to know more about robotaxi. The new vehicle was cyber van. I didn't think that we knew that cyber van gonna be. And the third thing was around Optimus, right? Again, no timelines on when the Optimus will be available. What else they're gonna add it, because they're still improving Optimus. There was also a display of Optimus, let's say just the hand, which showing I think 21 degrees of movement. That's not yet available in these Optimus which were in that event. So the event was done in Warner Brothers Studios in Los Angeles. So obviously, from I didn't find it too exciting that robotaxis are, they were ferrying people. They were taking, test rides in these robotaxis. But guys, you're not even in front of a traffic. You're in an enclosed, geo-fenced area in which the normal attendees, they are standing behind the picket fences, behind the fences, and the road is all clear. So I'm like, it's like, you're driving this car in a very controlled environment, right? So I wasn't pretty excited. I thought maybe we'll get to see a really a real robo taxi, means the AI or it's a autonomous driving software is advanced, that it understands or it can navigate itself into the regular, traffic that you see on the roads. Maybe or maybe not. At least we didn't get that feeling because it was all in very controlled environment, right? So let's get back to expectations versus reality. Market was looking to get the details on launch of lower cost vehicle. There was no discussion around that, so we don't know. Timelines for robotaxi, we don't know. He says goes in production in 26. When those will start to play on the road, we have no idea. Along with robotaxi, yeah, we saw one cyber van. Anything beyond vision? No. Right. Again, Musk came up with the whole grandiose vision of how the parking lots won't be needed anymore. They'll become the parks. The life will be so great. You will get a lot of time back onto your schedule to do what you want to do what you love to do. You'll have your personalized assistant helping you in all the stuff. But that's all his vision. There is no concrete information. So we saw the stock really didn't fare well.
Vivek,
Tesla was, yeah, let me just finish this one, Sam, 1 minute. So Tesla stock market didn't really like it because they didn't see anything new from an event which was the most anticipated event for Tesla. It has been postponed from August. We thought maybe we'll have something real more concrete information. The teams I worked for got 2 extra months, and that's the reason why he pushed it out. Now the question is, if after 2 months this is all what we get, the analysts were kind of really not happy, except one, except Dan Ives, because he's been uber bullish around Tesla for years. So I think it's difficult for him to change his position. But even normally the bullish analyst Adam Jones from Morgan Stanley, he came up with a very critical note. He's like, is that it? Is this what the event was? So I was really surprised to see Adam Jones' reaction because he's generally very pro Tesla. And I think same case Tony Sacconaghi and other analysts who cover the known analysts with a big following, they were all really not very happy about what they saw. So not surprised that the stock actually dropped whatever 7, 8, at some point of a time 10% after the event. Because there is nothing much that we found. So here's my thoughts on it, right? Robotaxis already exist. We have a Waymo which are 100,000 rides per year anyway, and these all are paid rides. They're doing it in San Francisco. They're doing it in, I think, Atlanta or Phoenix. In any case, in China, there are many more autonomous driving companies who are doing paid rides. Right? Baidu's Apollo Go already operate in Wuhan, plus some other cities. And this week they also, filing with regulators in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Middle East. So there's nothing new. Will Tesla Cybercar be iPhone versus BlackBerry of which could be Waymo? I don't know. Maybe they'll come up with a car which you will love, and everyone will ditch all other autonomous robot taxis, etc. We'll have to see. But these things are already happening in the world, right? So I don't know whether I don't know. I own Tesla share. I want to be bullish on Tesla, but I'm not getting that feeling that, yeah, this is going to be an iPhone moment. Did cell phone exist before iPhone? Sure. Nokia was there. BlackBerry was there. BlackBerry was the king. But iPhone came, and then we know, the rest all are history. Will cybercabs be iPhones? I don't know. Only time will tell. But there is nothing new that we saw. Point function humanoids already exist. I mean, I covered in some of a earlier session in which there was a robotics conference in China, and there were many humanoid robots that were doing those, serving at the counter or doing a particular chore. Uh, in that event, the Optimus was just standing in a glass cage, so Optimus wasn't doing anything. But if you go back and look at the videos of Honda's Azimo, picking the stuff, keeping it on the table, these robots are like 20 plus years old. Okay. Hopefully, and this is what my hope is, that Optimus is going to be multi-functional, means not programmed for one particular stuff, which is, I think, which is what Elon is trying to achieve, is it's like your personal assistant. Ask it to do anything, it'll do it. And during the live streaming, I think I saw some video where the Optimus is actually playing rock, paper, scissors with another attendee. So hopefully, I think that's, if he can pull that off, maybe we don't have, at least right now, may not have enough, exactly competition at the same level. However, I think I read that this week, was it in China or Hong Kong? One Chinese company had filed for a license to operate a kiosk in which a robot gonna prepare any meal, right? It's not a point function robot. It also learn from your habits of what kind of a meal you want, and then gonna learn your behavior and gonna change the way they're gonna prepare the meal. So it's like a complete chef. And so these things outside of US is already happening. A lot more happening in China than on the US side, right? Tesla, like I said, Tesla may win, but they have to appear in the game, right? The other players are already in the ground. They're already on the court. They're already competing. Tesla has to start competing. Cyber cabs have to come here, right? Before Waymos and of course, Chinese even won't be allowed license here before, but in China, before the other companies in China, autonomous riders in China, Baidu's start to capture bigger market share. Tesla has to put up cars on the ground. Cyber cabs have to arrive, right? You can't wait for, 100% perfection, and it may be too late. I don't know. Tesla could win, but it has to come in the core. You can't keep practicing in your backyard or in your gym and never show up for the game. But what I was more impressed, that Optimus and all your cyber car, your autonomous driving, all is done by one company, which is Tesla. So the AI common thread between all of them is the AI behind it, which I think is impressive. Like Baidu does autonomous driving, but they don't have the robotic play, right? Similar case with, let's say, other EV companies in China, BYD or NIO. The companies that have advanced robotics, they don't have a play on the autonomous driving, right? So, but Tesla is the only one that, at least that, which I have found. If you know some other company, do let me know. Which is they have a common platform, common thread around using AI. So, is Tesla could be a big AI player? Sure. Right. So that may be a thing, because at the end of the day, it's a AI that is driving these Optimus robots as well as any of these autonomous vehicles on the road. Let me address the question now. Sam, you had a question. Sorry, I had to cut you off.
Oh, don't worry, I threw it in a chat.
Oh, okay. Then I'll get through that. Let me look at the chat. Aditya is saying Waymo is driving. Yeah, we already covered that. That Optimus have real competition. Just Optimus? Yes. Okay, so it's already answered. Yeah. Sam says, notice how leaders in USA emphasize time for people to do whatever they like, when in China, more time to work and earn more money. Yeah, it depends on where. This
Excuse
is
me,
what the specific.
same as India, right?
Yeah, same
They
as
want to
India.
work.
It's a Maslow's hierarchy, right? So when we grew up in India, only thing we knew that you gotta work your butts off if you really want to progress in life, right? And thankfully, with those work ethics, we were able to move around, and now here I'm in US, right? You can't tell folks in India or in China or the countries which are still developing is, hey, there's more to life than just a work, because if coming at a Maslow's hierarchy, you have to make sure you get your basic needs fulfilled. You gotta have a food on table. You gotta have, a roof over your head, and you gotta have a piece of clothing, right? Once you move beyond that, then you start talking about retirement and all that stuff. No, countries like, I don't know about China, but in India, there was no social security concept, right? If you don't earn and save enough, you're kind of dependent on your family to survive, right, in your old age. So that's why there was so much emphasis on savings, and Indians are great savers. Now, I think last 10 years, there's a national pension scheme. So India is also introducing, these concepts from the West. So once, if your Maslow's hierarchy, if the lowest level is not yet satisfied, you can't start moving upward in the hierarchy and start thinking about more happiness and self-actualization and realization of life, and worry about that's what uh, we term is that, like, first world problems, right?
Vivek,
Which is very different. So
I read an article yesterday where she thought handouts are decadent. And I can tell you, my saving, my courtesy towards other people, I'm losing out. This country is very vile compared to China, where people want to work and are very considerate.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's we can't compare. It's a different level. At the advanced, the developed countries, you don't have to think about the basic needs. So that's why now we move up and worry about other stuff, right? In other countries which are still developing, your basic needs are not fulfilled. So who worry about whether you have time? Did you spend time on your kids' football or not? We don't worry about that. So the one reason why I moved to US was, hey, I want to spend more time with the family. The culture in US is a little different than the work culture in India, right? And my family was really happy that I was able to spend more time here. So it depends, it's a different um, levels where the countries are in terms of their growth. And I'm sure, like, the countries in Africa, they might be looking at India and say, what do you guys worry about it? Right? At least you're not afraid of getting shot. You're not afraid of, of a dictatorial like government. You're not afraid of famines, which a lot of African countries still are. So it's at a different level. I think this is, yeah, some part of a time, hopefully, the whole world advances, but as more and more countries move up the chain, you will start looking at problems from a different level. Today, if your internet connection goes out, we have a trouble. Like my kids, they're like perplexed when the internet connection goes out because they've never seen a blackouts here. Like, we grew up in having 4 hour, 5 hour blackout per day, no electricity. So here now it's a different problem. So anyway,
Yeah, I was laughing when you mentioned your comment about you don't have your own power plant. I mean, I grew up in a house, we had our own generator.
we had a generator.
Got a time with it.
Yeah. So we were staying in an apartment. We had a big generator, and we had to turn on the generator when the power goes off.
Yeah.
And that was like when I was in, I think, 10th, 9th grade. Prior to
Yeah.
that, we didn't have generator. If your power goes off, goes off. There goes your exam. You have to study then under the, we used to with the kerosene lamp and all that. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
or get an emergency light or a torch. You study, they were there. So we accustomed to that.
Yeah.
But my kids, if a power go, first of all, the power doesn't go off in US. I mean, maybe, but sometimes if the internet connection is not working or slow, I have to restart the modem. Oh, there's a chaos in the house. The internet is not working.
So Vivek, they're talking about Wi-Fi. Everybody gets Wi-Fi so the kids can stay. People in Shanghai, fathers, they would go to McDonald's to use their Wi-Fi
Yeah.
so that their kids they could monitor their kids studying. See, this country is so backwards. The parents don't give a shit about their kids, and they give teachers all this pressure. Well, it's the same way in China, but there's less social because the parents do care for their kids.
No, I think again, it's a different culture, different stuff. So I don't want to compare between these two, but I'm saying You cannot start talking about higher level problems unless you have taken care of a basic needs.
Yeah, excuse me, Vivek. My mother didn't give a shit about me studying. Okay, and she comes from the old country, China, and grew up in Hong Kong. But
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah. Again, I think this is going to be a never-ending discussion. So, but I
thank
think
you.
when it comes to the studies, I know of some kids from India whose parents cared a lot, and otherwise, on the other side, there are some parents who didn't care anything about studies. So I think it's both sides. So let's move on. There's going to be never-ending discussion, different countries, different culture, and of course, people have come from a different background. I love US. It's a melting pot. You get to see people from different background, meet different people, taste different food. That's why it's my adopted home country now. All right, next topic. Let's talk about when to sell the stocks. I think there's been a lot of discussion on which stock to buy, what to do. We spent a lot of time on analyzing the stock, and there was a request last week saying, hey, let's talk about when to sell. When do you sell, right? I think someone asked me a question, when do you sell? Yesterday, when I was at a conference, we had a similar discussion with some people, and they were asking, okay, are you, are a swing trader? When do you buy? When do you sell? I'm like, my idea is I will never want to sell unless, this is what I'm going to cover today, is when are the reasons when you will sell it, right? So maybe I'll expand a little bit and talk about staying married with your stocks, and then we will talk about when to sell, right? So that we cover the full breadth. Alrighty. So let's start with this. Congratulations, you studied a stock, you dated a stock, and now you got married to it. Means you bought a stock, right? Now I'm not going to talk about before, during your dating period, what you should look in for a stock before you decide to tie the knot, and but yeah, you buy a stock. You've done all your due diligence, you looked at all the numbers, you looked at all the financials, looked at the story. You'll think, yeah, she's a great, I'm gonna say yes to her, I'm gonna get married. Congratulations, you are now a family, and I hope it'll give you a lifetime of happiness. You don't ever have to sell your stock. That's what generally my intent is, that if I buy it, I don't want to sell it. But let's look at how to stay married, right? Like any, I'm not a marriage counselor, so don't take it as any counseling. But like, marriage, you have your own, ups and downs with your partner, with your kids. Life is never, pretty stable. It's sometimes it's fun, sometimes you have fights, and this is what happens in the stock market. Or for your particular stock, we have seen this emotional cycle of investing many times. It applies to either the stock at a market level or at an individual stock also, right? 2021, right? Every stock was at euphoria. Doesn't care whether you have whether a revenue or not. If at least if you're a stock, you're up. It's like the yeah, don't label me sexist, but it's like the only girl in your class, right? Everyone wants to date that girl. Doesn't matter what stock you are. It was a huge euphoria. And now here we're looking at a Facebook wherein we're giving it for dead. Come on, guys, it's got a 3 billion users on its platform. And this is where the Facebook is trading at $80, right? Despondency. Nothing good can happen with Facebook. Oh, they're burning so much money. Oh, Mark Zuckerberg is not a good CEO. The VCs were behind. Oh, we should ban the dual share structure because that's give extra power to Mark Zuckerberg. $40 billion expense. Nothing good gonna come out. And everyone forgot that he still have a good advertising business. They still have a 3 billion plus users on their platform. This was the despondency. Now we are moving back up. Facebook is what, close to $600. I don't know but this is a cycle that happens. So how do you stay invested? There will be periods of euphoria and despondency. How do you stay married? We didn't go on divorce at the first, over here, the first sign of panic, right? You work through it. Similarly, with the stock, we have to work through it. So, how do you reduce the pain of staying married? I'm not going to talk about how to reduce the pain of staying married, but let me talk about how to reduce the pain of owning the stock, right? The risk of owning the stock is that I got a capital invested in it. If I can reduce my cost of owning the shares, then my pain is reduced, right? Hey, if a stock goes down, fine. Don't have too much capital, or my cost basis is less, right? So you reduce the cost basis of staying in your relationship with the stock. That's what I am focused on. What are a few ways of reducing the cost basis? If you're only trading stocks, the only way for you is to double down. You bought a stock at 100, stock is down to 60. You had 100 stocks earlier, you buy 100 more. Now your overall cost base is $80. That's the only way. That's the one way you can reduce your cost basis. But it needs additional capital investment, right? You put in $10,000, stock went down to 60, you put in another $6,000, and now your overall average cost is $80. You reduce it from 100 to 80, but it needs additional capital investment, right? So you need to invest in that. That means you need to know that the future is going to be bright, right? You don't want to throw good money behind bad, right? It means you still need to have a little bit of crystal ball to know the future is going to be bright. It's fine. And of course, we need to have a capital available. The other one to reduce the cost basis is if you have invested in dividend incomes, right? DRIP, dividend reinvestment plans. You received a dividend from Microsoft or from any other company, and you reinvest it into the stock. So dividend comes to you. I'm not talking about the tax impact, but dividend comes to you at a kind of a zero cost. You don't pay anything for a dividend. And then you buy additional shares by using that dividend income and reduce your overall cost basis, right? But you're dependent on the capital allocation decision from the company's management. Google doesn't pay dividend. Facebook only started paying dividend in very recently. Microsoft does pay dividend. Most of the growth companies, they won't pay dividend because they want to reinvest in a business. So you have another way to reduce a cost basis. If you're holding a growth company that doesn't pay dividend, then you can't reduce your cost basis. So what do you look for? And that's why I'm looking at, I love options. It helps me to reduce the cost basis while I am staying invested with the stock. So do covered calls and strangle a lot of option strategies. You can use whichever you want to, but idea is sell premium, and any premium you earn reduces your cost basis. Will there be some times when the stock gets called away from you because you sold a covered call? Probably. But I've been in there for now 8 years. There have been some instances wherein, gosh, I shouldn't have done that. Right? But on overall, right, it has worked out well for me. Like 80% of the stocks that I own, I have been able to reduce the cost basis because of selling options against it, right? Or buying a stock by first selling an options against it, right? So whichever way. So these are a few things that you can use, which is what I focus on. And that's why my investment thesis is buy best businesses and just reduce the cost basis. If I have a zero cost basis, right, then then it's just a house money, right? It helps you to stay invested for longer. Okay? And I wish we all have a happy and long married life, especially if I'm playing with the house money. I have much less incentive to sell just because there is a panic in the market, right? But how do you then? Other thing is you should know your partner, right? Stay up to date with your partner. What is she doing? Did she change? He or she change a job? What's happening his or her life? You need to know. You can't just be sitting in your room and don't worry about a partner and then say, oh gosh, my married life sucks. I mean, it happens sometimes, but how do you do with your stocks? You should know who's the CEO, who's running, what's the normal market cap, where does it, which business it is in. Do you follow the earnings? Do you know what's happening with what happened to the recent earnings in your company? Have they changed the strategy? When you buy it, why do you buy it? What's your investment thesis around it? Keep a journal right over there, because in the heat of the moment, we become very emotional. I mean, we all are human beings, right? We become very emotional and we might do some stupid stuff. So it's best to write it in a journal saying, I want to buy the stock, reason why I buy the stock, maybe when I will sell it. So that if there is a panic in the market, go and revisit. Am I making an emotional decision? Or is it just that, or is it the decision which I decide, is it what I've already decided and now the stock is behaving that and hence I'm selling it, right? So yeah, but the whole idea is you have to stay up to date. If you can't stay up to date with your individual stocks, just buy ETFs. Don't even try to become cute and think I'm going to buy it just because the stock is going high. Right? Make sure you can follow those stocks regularly, the ones which you own in your portfolio. If you can't, ETFs is a great way. Like SPY is up 22%. Don't be too much greedy. But if you can't follow what NVIDIA is doing, then don't buy NVIDIA. Right? But in case, we'll try to do all these things. I'm trying to make sure that I'm reducing my cost basis. I'll follow all my stock, all earnings. I'm seeing, okay, what he or she is doing, what's happening in my stock life. But there are reasons when then you may have to sell your stock, or which is what is called as a reasons to divorce. I pray, I hope all the stocks that you buy, you never have to go through this. But we don't control the reality. We don't control the future. Things could happen. Right? We don't get into relationship assuming that we're going to get divorced, but things do happen. Divorces do happen. What are some of the reasons when I would start thinking, oh gosh, I need to divorce it. My original thesis is busted. I thought I was marrying a prince of some Arabian sheikh, and she turned out to be a pauper. Right? My thesis is busted. I thought she was something else, but the reality, I got duped. Or I didn't do my due diligence. I never looked into her bank balance. I only focused on what she told me. So that's the reason I misread the business of the company. My thesis got busted. I thought it's an AI play. It just turned out to be a consulting business, right? I thought it's a software company. It turned out to be a very low margin hardware company. I misread the business. That's the reason. Then I will sell it. Or I misjudged the moat. I thought the growth that it is having will continue to grow, but then realize, oh, there is no moat. There's a competition is coming. There are many ways in which you could misjudge reading a business, right? Managers are struggling to execute. They have a good vision, but they can't execute it. A major legal ruling goes against the company, right? And this could, depending on how big the fines are or what the government does for it. Let's say Wells Fargo, right? They have been for ever since their fake account, they have been under restriction from a Fed that they can't expand beyond a certain number. So they have a cap that has been put by OCC. So they can't grow beyond that. So we already know what's the max, unless, I mean, the bank has been trying hard. And I think the expectation is maybe in 2025, the cap will be removed. So, or the brand deteriorates. No one wants this brand anymore. It was a great one, but now the company has diluted its brands completely. Right? Little bit of what Nike did. Hopefully they'll recover it. Whatever that Air Jordan or one which was to be an exclusive, they produce it at such a high quantity, no longer it is exclusive. So the sales actually came down, even though they produced more, because there's no that exclusivity on that shoe brand was lost. The brand lost its value. Or business is diversifying with means they are moving into a lot of other businesses which have little synergy. And this is the area where I've struggled a lot. Wherein now at least I'm a little more wiser. Or now if I look at a company which is buying another business, it gives my antennas goes up like, are you just as a CEO, are you just trying to expand your empire? Or is this going to result in a better value for shareholders? Majority of the acquisitions don't really work out. It increases the revenue because now you got another company under your fold. It increases the influence of a CEO because you got to manage one more company. But for a shareholders, it doesn't work out. There are very few companies who can manage this really, really well. So should look at if it's diversifying it, or is this company is being disrupted by another formidable competitor. Right? A new competitor came in and trying to disrupt you. What are some of the other reasons? So basically, first thing is my thesis got busted. Business is not working out. Thesis was right. But what? That's it. There is no second play. And this is one of the most difficult decisions because your thesis worked out. Company has done what you thought it will do. Stock has done what you thought it will do. Stock is all done, but there is no second play. And as you know, if you look at any product life cycle or a company's life cycle, it goes through the phases of, crossing the chasm, then it goes to the hyper growth, and then it becomes mature business, and then it start to decline. Right now, you're sitting at the top. But what next? Because investing is all about future. It's not about what already happened. What's next? This company has got no second act. Then if there is no second act, eventually it will move into decline phase. Right? Companies like IBM, Dell, you don't know. I mean, now the Dell has got a second act in terms of an AI play. If you take out that AI play, it was a great company of its time. It was an innovator of its time, but they couldn't move beyond that, low price PCs. So there are many companies who done great, and they turn out. It's not that they're a bad investment, just that there's not growth left in it. Eventually they'll mature and they'll start to pay dividend on all that stuff. But depending on what kind of investor you are, if I'm one who's want to invest in a growing businesses, fine, you're done one. Tell me now what's next. This is why companies keep on hunting for new sources of revenue so that they can keep growing. So that could be one reason and this is the most difficult reason, because stock and the company has done what you thought they will, and now you're trying to decide for the next game from them. Great companies will reinvent themselves and find a new source of organic growth, right? Apple, they moved into services. AWS, Amazon was started as the e-com, AWS, and the latest one, which I've been talking about for 2 years, is advertising is their next growth, right? Google's YouTube, and that's why now they start separating their YouTube revenues, right? Microsoft, cloud was their next play. It has almost lost the relevance, Microsoft, until in 2014-15, they started to focus on cloud. Oracle is not ready to create its second act. Formidable company, Oracle, growing in 90s, 2000. It's a great company, great business. But then there was no second act for Oracle. Now it's trying to reinvent it through the cloud stuff. SAP is trying to move to cloud through HANA. Splunk, anyway, now it's part of a Cisco.
Oracle's been in the cloud for over 25 years, 20 years.
but not for the other customers, right? So OCI is where now they're number 4 players. Oracle might be using for its own internal, but they don't offer it to others. So what's the second play? And Cisco has been trying hard to find what the second play is. The way Cisco, and I'm still like debatable on Cisco because they've been buying so many companies. I'm looking at Cisco. Are you trying to diversify? Business diversifying? Because they do random acquisition. Not, I'm not sure to say random because of course the people who get paid millions of dollars sitting in a C-suite, they have some idea in mind why they want to acquire companies. But when I see Cisco acquiring companies across different business segments, right? They acquire Splunk before they acquired App Dynamics. What is that you're trying to do? I think Cisco is trying hard to find their second act, to see what might stick. Anything which is currently hot, we're going to buy it and see if that works out to be a second act or not. So yeah, I mean, everyone needs networking gear. So that time is already past. What's next for Cisco? So if there is no second play, eventually market will start to not value that company at what it used to be. What are the other reasons for divorce? Bad bookkeeping, accounting irregularities, right? Financial statements have to be restated, or there are lawsuits related to accounting practices. Why are it? Because, hey, if I can't believe in your financial statements, then there is no way for me to evaluate your performance. Because that's the only window for me to look into the operations of that company. I don't work for the company. Even if I work for the company, I will not be privy to what's happening at the topmost level, right? Why the decisions are being taken, etc. Only window for me to peer into the company is their financial statements. And if I can't believe those financial statements because there have been irregularities, then I don't want to be invested in you. So that could be one reason where I will sell the stock. Other one is became too big portion of my portfolio. Right? If you're losing sleep, if the stock drops by 25%, me personally, it's not really worth holding it in portfolio. Right? Then maybe I will reduce, sell the stock just to reduce my positions. Business still great. Probably it's gonna go big. And you can blame me later, oh, you were fool, you left the stock. That's fine. I lost out on the making more money, but I'm okay to make the trade-off where I can sleep well versus making more money. And this is just personally me, right? Why I would sell it. You may think, oh, you don't want to sell it if it becomes 20%, 50% of your portfolio. That's up to you. You identify what percentage works for you. This is very personal decision that you have to make. But I will sell some stock just because it has become too big portion of my portfolio. And then I'm getting a little concerned that, gosh, anything happens to the stock, I'm gonna get a big, it's not gonna be a, slap on, it's not gonna be a finger slap. It's gonna hurt me real bad. And that's causing me to lose sleep. So that's one reason why I would sell some stock. What are the reasons? Stock did what it's supposed to do, and now it is time to enjoy the fruits. I invested in XYZ and my target was when my kid goes to college, I need a funds for my kid's college. Now kid is going to college. I need to sponsor that by selling the stock, right? Whatever your reason may be, pay college fee, you want to go buy a house on the beach or buy the fancy car or bike. But when you started it, you would have had some idea in your mind. Are you doing for a retirement? Maybe now you're in a retirement phase. And then you need to sell it because you need to run your house. This is why you invested in the stock, so that you can generate income in your retirement. And now you're in retirement, you need to sell the stock so that you can enjoy the fruits. But we're not investing in a stock just for the heck of it. There is a motive behind it. And now it is the time to sell the stock so that we can accomplish that motive. That's one reason when I will sell the stock. Or this I added after 2021, if there is an egregious valuation. Right. I should have put this plan together earlier, and I probably would have done a better job of managing my portfolio. It's never too late to learn something new. It becomes egregiously overvalued. Overvalue is fine. Any good companies will always be, most of the time it will be expensive. You can't find a great company and at a cheaper price. They will always be expensive. If you're gonna date a princess, make sure your pockets are loaded with Benjamins. You can't, it is expensive. But sometimes things could become egregiously expensive. Right? And this is like a hit or a miss. If the business performs well, then it doesn't look to be expensive. But looking at, and this is always to be compared between the business performance and what's being priced into the stock. If it is egregiously expensive, then I will sell some stocks. And for me, it has worked. Some case it has, business performed even better than, then it was like, oh, why did I sell it? Okay, I made some money, and that's the opportunity cost loss. In some cases, I was happy that I sold because the stock price plummeted later because businesses didn't perform. Stock price was just elevated because of the euphoria in the market. So if it is really super expensive, yeah, at some point of a time, I'm like, okay, let's pull the plug, sell a portion of the stock. I did that with NVIDIA. Right? Hindsight may not be the best decision, but I also did that with Stitch Fix. I sold at 60 and it went up to 90. I'm like, what the heck? Now it is at $3. So, it worked out. I did with Zoom. I think last when I sold Zoom was 125. I thought it was egregiously overvalued. And I was wrong for some time, and then market corrected it. So it works out. You have to figure out, looking at what the business is, opportunity that you see, and what's the valuation is. But that's one reason when I will sell when I find it is egregiously overvalued. Or if I don't have a time or interest to follow the company. In 2022, I trimmed the trigger symbols by 30%. I used to have more than 110. Right? In 2024, like I sold some, I said, I'm getting out of this because some like Stone Co. I'm like, I don't understand the business and I don't have much interest in following it up. So I sold that off. Rotate that capital into ETF. If I can't follow a company, doesn't make sense to hold it for longer in my portfolio. Right? What else? Tax loss harvesting. This is a very calculated and very short-term move. Right? It is not, didn't have to do it too often, but this could be one of a reason in which, let's say, if I want to compensate, because this includes timing the market, which I'm not a big fan of. But if you can, this could be one of the reasons why you may want to sell a stock for a short term and then get back into it later on because you want to do a tax loss harvesting. Or sometimes the covered call gets called away. I mean, this is many times I told you, oh, I had to sell the TSM today. I like in July, I had a covered call spread, which was in the money. I sold a little bit TSM. And this week I bought it back. But that's one of a reason why I may sell a stock. Okay. Yeah, so these are many of the reasons why I would sell a stock. So last week, because I was like, when do I sell it? I do want to own it forever, but when any of these reasons happen, yeah, I'll sell some stock. And that's why when I sell, I tell you the reason, right? TSM, today I bought, I refilled the tank, right? July, I told you covered call spread was in the money, so I sold a little bit of it. Any other, what other reasons do you have to sell your stock? Mind you, none of those reasons said that the stock fell down 2% or stock fell down 5%. I don't sell the stock if the stock just fall down by 5% or stock went up by 5%. If it is not egregiously overvalued, I will still hold it. Doesn't matter what the stock has done in terms of its pricing. Any other reasons that you may have when you think, hey, I want to sell the stock and I've not covered it? I mean, because these are my reasons. So if you have any reason that you would sell a stock, let me know.
The only other reason that comes to my mind, and I've never done it, is because, if your portfolio is too heavily skewed over towards a certain geography or like a particular asset class or technology sector or something like that, that's something that comes to my mind. But yeah, I do. I'd love to know your thoughts on how do you personally monitor that split? Are there any tools you use? I'd love to see any examples in future sessions.
Which split?
And just anything, your commodity versus equity versus
Okay.
real estate split, or technology versus utility split, or geographical split, so US versus China versus whatever.
Yeah, so I think, okay, so from that perspective, I only look at in terms of a China, how big is a portion of a portfolio China is. I don't worry about others because of geopolitical tensions. Others, I have information, but I don't think I've looked at what's my sectoral distribution is, because I know I know what companies I own. Most of them will be skewed towards tech or the e-commerce. Some portions as on I try to look at try to match, let's say, SPY kind of a stuff. But I mean, I have information. I've never looked into the sectoral specific. What I do look into is I categorize each of my stocks, giving my own category, saying, is this a core part of my portfolio? Core means it's a pretty stable company, generating cash flows, cap profitable, have been around for some time, very liquid, not a micro cap or a small cap, right? Means prices cannot be manipulated. So that's part of my core. Other way I categorize is called a growth companies, right? Which is they're gonna grow in the future, may not be making money right now, but they're in a businesses which are tend to grow. Third, I categorize is as a moonshots, rocket ships, right? Doesn't make any money, may not even have a product, but if the bet works out, it could 10x. But I do track in terms of what's my distribution here is, because the risk is the highest in the moonshots. I don't want my moonshots to become, let's say, 25% of my portfolio. I want to keep it below 10%, right? Or maybe 5%. So that I do track. Growth, I want growth to be like 40 to 50%, 60% of my not growth, the core to be over there. And then growth to be 30, 40%. And the moonshots will be 5 to 10%. But that I do look into it. Sector wise, I don't really track it because some of the sectors I may not have any exposure. But I do try to pick ETF across the sectors, but I don't really look at in terms of what my allocation is. Anyway, so that's I see a comment. Apple always did services before part of Apple Care, but the services, they had a services, but they never looked at services as a separate big business until in 2019 or 2018 when they start to report services as a separate line item in their financial statements. It was buried under some of the other revenue streams. Once the companies start to tell the street saying as a separate line item, then you really know that company is serious about it. Google started to do with the YouTube. Amazon started to do same thing with advertising. If you go back and look at Amazon financial statements, you won't see any line of advertising in 2018, 2019. I guess it in 2020 or 2021 is when they started adding this. And that's when Yeah, it may be 2021 or 2022. And that's when I think I came and discussing, guys, watch out for this. Now Amazon is focused on growing its advertising revenue. Lo and behold, in 2-3 years, it's what become a $50 billion business. So until then, it's I'm getting some money. We really don't know if the business will grow or not. We're just trying it out. That's what Apple did, but now the service is a big part of their business. So that's where from an experimentation phase, it moves into a real business phase. All right, let's look at an IPO and then we get back to the Mind the Gap study. Any other question? Okay, I see one more comment. Alibaba has second and third act, not JD.com on Pinduoduo. Yeah, I don't follow JD.com really very closely. Pinduoduo, again, I know this is social commerce, but yeah, Alibaba has got a lot of acts. Let's look at an IPO. Anyone heard about Cerebras Systems? Cerebras. This is a new IPO. I don't know when are they going to IPO, but I did see that it's causing little buzz. Cerebras was valued at $4 billion in 2021. If I can create a company with my grandma's name, probably they'll be valued at a few $100 million in 2021, right? But anyway, now they are seeking to roughly double its valuation in an IPO. I don't know where it will end up, but let's talk about a little bit of the company. It was launched in 2016, so pretty new, only 8 years old. And so the company basically creates a processors which can be used for training your AI model. So it's a AI play. They are competing against NVIDIA. They say that their chips is faster and more efficient than NVIDIA's chips. Basically, that's the play. And that's why it isn't right now. It's a hot IPO because anything related to AI is hot. Right? You have any play in AI, VCs are ready to fund you, capital markets are ready to get you public money. So what could be another, there can't be a better time to go to IPO if you have an AI play. So I think very opportunistically, this company has decided that it's a time to go for an IPO, right? And again, market is also looking for some formidable competitor beyond NVIDIA. I mean, AMD is there. AMD this week also unveiled their chips. I think MI 350 or 325, which they say will compete with Blackwell. Market really didn't buy it. So the stock actually went down after AMD unveiled a new chip. So I think everyone is looking for another viable competitor for NVIDIA. NVIDIA can't continue to enjoy these margins, hefty margins forever. So anyway, in 2023, let's look at some sales numbers. Sales more than tripled to $78.7 million. In the first half of 2024, revenue became $136 million, which is huge. And if you annualize it, that becomes, let's say, $270 million. From $70 million in 2023 to $270 million in 2024, that's a big jump. That's a huge growth. It's like 4x, right? And of course, it is because everyone wants to have AI chips. So I try to dig deeper in terms of who are the customers who will buy this. So let's continue further on it. And Cerebras says in its prospectus that it has signed agreements to sell $1.43 billion of systems and services. And payment is expected before March 2025. That is huge. From $78.7 million in 2023 to $1.43 billion by March 2025. That's a mind-boggling growth, right? So let's look at it. It's got a chips, which has got more cores and memory than NVIDIA H100. It has got a cloud service, okay, that also relies on its own cloud. This is what causes my antennas to go up. Only one company called Group 42 accounted for 82%. So I thought if it's a great, if they're doing so much of revenue, maybe Google is buying it. I mean, hyperscalers are the only one which are buying these big chips. Who else is buying these big chips? No one. I mean, it's a hyperscalers, like, or companies like Meta, who have these, who create the LM models, or let's say Perplexity, or Anthropic, Amazon. I don't see any of those names in here. So when I look for a customer, there's a company called Group 42, which is UAE based, accounts for more than 80% of the revenue. And I'm like, what is this company? I never heard of I heard of Group 42 because I think Microsoft had invested in it, but I never knew that they're so big in an AI play. I thought maybe it's a cloud computing company in Middle East. And then I started a little deeper on Group 42, right? So it doesn't list any other clients in its prospectus. It's only got one, which is called Group 42. So my antenna is already, I'm like, okay, what if this client moves to something else? Chips are manufactured by TSMC, like everyone else. In May 2024, Group 42 committed to purchase 1.43 billion, and that's what Cerebra is mentioned in its prospectus. And then it also owns 5% of Class A shares. So not only it's the biggest customer, but it's also an owner of a company and has an options to buy more depending on how much more product of Cerebras you buy. So I really couldn't understand. I mean, it's just a little more corporate governance issues. What are you trying to do? Is it like, I forgot what's the technical name for it, in which your investor is buying from you because, if your shares goes high, your investor will benefit, and investor is also your customer. Is like doing a in-house sale, right? There are other who owns more than 5%, Foundation Capital, Benchmark, Altimeter. These are all well-known VCs. Cotu is a well-known VC, and of course the CEO, Andrew Feldman. There are other individual owners, Sam Altman and Sun Microsystem founder, Andy, who's also a founder of Arista Network, right? But I wasn't really, and again, it could be just me. The company might be great, but I was a little concerned about this whole Group 42, which I know it's not a big hyperscaler. So started looking at who this Group 42 is, right? My thoughts. Cerebra's play is we are cheaper than NVIDIA. May not be as performant because I think they told that they are better than NVIDIA H100. Now NVIDIA has moved to H200. Now they're in Blackwell. So from performance perspective, we're not that great, but we are cheaper and we are available. NVIDIA chips, Blackwell chips are sold out for 12 months. If you're a hyperscaler or if you're a tech company, you need AI chips, what are you going to do? I'll go to wherever the second best is. At least it's there. It's available. I can buy it. Round tripping. Looks like a lot of round tripping going around here. Your investor is buying your product so that your revenue goes high. If your revenue goes high, your valuation goes high. As an investor, I benefited. That's not how the real businesses work. Right? Then I will be willing to, why would I negotiate to get a best deal from you? Right? Then you can report whatever revenue you want to. Why 1.43? Say $2 billion. Because anyway, it's going to come back and benefit the shares that I own. I lost on the purchase of your chips, but I gained on the shares. I really don't know what the heck is going on here. So I looked at Group 42. It is not a hyperscaler. It looks like it's an investment company. And the investors are Microsoft, Mubadala, which is a sovereign wealth fund, Silver Lake Capital, which is a PE firm, Ray Dalio family offices. They've all invested in it. And let's search for Group 42. Group 42. that AI. Oh, when the companies have .ai, that itself is an antenna. So this is, come on, load, right? Exponential possibilities today. Okay, right. So to me, it looks like this born in Abu Dhabi, we champion AI as a powerful force for good, a tool to improve. But I think they are just investing in other companies. They're not the end consumers. To me, it looks like that, right? Then I started looking at, okay, who runs this? Who's the CEO? So the CEO was a CTO or Chief Information Officer of MicroStrategy, and he's just spent a decade in a software industry, right? Not too much time on a software side. Leadership's team had no sales head or not CR, no chief revenue officer, no one. If you are actually a real business, how will you run your business without a sales head? So to me, Group 42 is not really a business. It's like another investment company which invest in other companies, and maybe they are selling chips to those, or they are kind of forcing their investees to use the chips of Cerebras. So there's a lot of round tripping going around here. Yeah, it seems like investment fund. CTO is part-time. The CTO is a CEO of another company called Fair Signals, right? So I have not read through the S1 document yet, but when, the little bit of time that I spent on their website, trying to figure out what they do and, who's their, I mean, that's a fancy website, and who they're, like who, what about G42? Does they have a leadership team? Maybe if they updated it, it could be different. Yeah, he's a group CEO. Where else? Management team, yeah. So they got a CEO. He's part-time CTO. And that's it. And they got a chief financial officer, group counsel. Where are the others? Yeah, that's it. Accounting officer. Yeah, there is no sales head. This there he was recently appointed HR head, marketing, emerging marketing. That's it. No head of overall group sales. So I think they are having a country head which they've recently appointed. So to me, it looks like more of an investment fund. And I don't understand this whole convoluted structure of your investor is your biggest customer, and then if they buy more product from you, you're going to get more shares from them. Then you're not really operating in a competitive market. And that's the reason why 87% of their revenue is just through Group 42. So whatever valuation it come out to be, I'm not going to buy this right now unless I figure out what the heck is going around these investments. Okay, so that's my quick 5-minute thought on its IPO. There may not be anything wrong in this. I'm not saying this is it's a scam or it's bad company to invest in. Just that I can't find out a good reason to invest it in right now, given the convoluted structure and given that they are operating in a very protected environment. Then in a protected environment, you're growing your sales by 3x. Who cares? If your dad is buying everything that you are producing, who cares that you grew your revenue by like 5x? Right? Come into the real market. Then I know what strength you have as a company. So I'll wait. So that's on Cerebras Systems. It's a new IPO. I mean, it's a buzz is because it's an AI, and I think it's the right time that they go IPO. Any questions on Cerebras? Did anyone of you hear about this company? Did it cross your radar? Anyone? Nope. All righty. So, okay. Oh, you heard it on CNBC. All right. So that's on an IPO. So let's talk about Mind the Gap. And that will be the last topic for today. Then we'll resume our regular sessions from Saturday. Okay. So this is the study that I think it's Morningstar, not S&P, Morningstar had done over the last 10 years, which is, I think, I mean, basically it puts the number around the stuff that you and we have known for years. So let's look at some of the numbers. But the punchline is investors lost out on about 15% of the return that their funds had generated. That means if the fund is up 20%, as an investor, they are up only 17%. Because even if the fund is up, let's say you're invested in an ETF or a mutual fund on January 1st, you invested $10,000. At the end of the year, that fund is up 20%, but your investment, because of what you do with your investment, is up only 17%. Like they lost the 15% gain, which is surprising. Why would that happen? Right? And it is even more concerning when we are seeing record inflows coming into ETFs. So ETF has got $501 billion of new money in by the end of trading on September 27, right? Now we are getting ETFs on mutual funds. So ETF is becoming bigger and bigger portion of the overall market. And the USP of ETF is lower fee, right? And that's why they say we are better than mutual fund because we don't charge you as much as these mutual fund people charge you because they got a better tax favorable treatment, and hence the cost of owning ETF is less as compared to the mutual fund. But the cost to the investor, and this study has shown that the cost to the investor is a little higher because of the investor's own behavior. And so this study spanned across 20,000 fund shares that account for aggregate more than $12 trillion at the start of a 10-year period and finished at $21 trillion by the end. So this starts at 1st January from 2014 all the way to end of December 2023. So that 10-year period, Morningstar looked at the aggregate of what the retail investors have done. And forget about the category for now. Overall, the fund has returned, let's say, 7.3%. Across is all 20,000, like some funds underperform and all that. But the investors in that fund have got only 6.3% return. Even though when you look at a mutual fund or an ETF, when you look at it, what's the performance? Right? You go to Fidelity, Robinhood, whatever brokerage, you look at what's the performance of the mutual fund, it will tell you, okay, we are up 20%. Okay. That doesn't mean all the investors in that fund has actually made 20%. So across these 20,000 funds have returned 7.3%, investors made only 6.3%, right? Which is like 1.1% at 7.3 makes it 15%. That's why they earn 15% less, right? And the gap has been persistent. Over the last 10 years, it happened every year. So it's not that maybe one particular year retail investors were so crazy that they gave up all the gains and hence lost, had 1.1% less or 15% overall less gain than the funds had. The gap was persistent. We found shortfall in all the 10 years of the study period, right? Why happened? Because investors, like They added more money in 2019. Early 2020, they withdrew when the market fell, and then they missed out the portion of the subsequent rallies. Looking at the fund specific, the alternatives, non-traditional equity, sector equity, the gap observed was the biggest, right? Because those are a little more volatile. More volatile the fund is, worse are the investors, because we are emotional people. You see a stock, your ETF going down by 5%, you sell it. Or if you see this ETF being very volatile, you make a lot more decisions of selling and buying it because you're trying to damn time the market. And that creates worse and worse performance. More volatile the stock is, let's say if you're at one specific sector. Overall S&P is less volatile. One particular sector is more volatile. So you have a widest gap on a sector funds. A little more, they looked at a different type of funds, right? They looked at investing in index funds and as well as active funds, both sides. So indexing beats the active. I mean, that's a known fact. We have known for now almost 20 years. Yeah, this is the one where the more volatile the stock, the fund is, worse is the performance of retail investors in that fund. Right? So the large gaps tend to be, yeah, so the more volatile the fund returns are, the larger are the gaps that tend to be. The average dollar invested in the most volatile sector equity funds lag the buy and hold return by 7 percentage point. So this gap is nothing but if on the 1st January, you put in 10,000 and you just held that 10,000 till the end of December 2023. That's a fund return. You invested on 1st of Jan 2014, 10-year period later, December 2023, what's the return? That's a fund return. Investor return is you invested in 1st Jan 2014, $10,000. The market fell a little bit down. You're like, gosh, it's going to go down. I'm going to take my funds out. I will reinvest it at the bottom. You take your funds out. Then you wait for the market to bottom out. Sometimes they catch it, sometimes they don't catch it. It's a 10-year long study across millions of retail investors. Then you get back into the market, and then market goes up like, oh my gosh, it's already at the top. It is above my Bollinger Band. It is above my 200-day moving average. It is above like 2 standard deviations. I should sell it. That's what as swing traders do. Sell at the top. I'll get back into it when it goes down. At the end of, after all these actions, what is left out in the December 2023, you actually made way less than if you just held the stock. So that is called an investor return, because that return is dependent on how you as an investor take an action. Fund return, when the mutual funds and ETF report their return, that is if you bought and held it forever. And what do we as a so-called, I'm a smart investor, I think I can time the market. We try to extract more returns by trying to use our own intelligence in trying to time the market. We end up losing. At least the last 10-year study shows that we end up losing. Higher volatile the sector is. In some cases, you lag the buy and hold by 7 percentage points. 7 percentage points per year is a huge number. Right? So takeaways, if you're trying to do a swing trade and you're looking at, oh, I think I'm going to invest in this particular theme or which is very volatile, and it shows me that the ETF or the mutual fund has returned 20%. Just shave off 7 to 10% and think your return will be 10% less than that because of the decisions that you and I take in trying to time the market. Right? The average investor return lag, like I said, it's not just 1 year, it lagged in all the 10 years. Right? So Net is there is a cost of timing. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to get too cute, saying, I know when to sell, market super, or I'll get back in, sell high, buy low. I want to do that. Doesn't really work out. Negative returns happen because of two reasons. One is you add in money and the stock actually goes down, or the fund actually goes down, or you withdraw it and the fund actually goes up. In both cases, it's a negative return as compared to if you just held it. Right? So, I'll skip through a lot of these details. Generally, and this was an eye-opener for me, this chart, generally, the passive funds are the best, have a better return than the active funds, right? Because the active funds have got more fee and all that. They have not been able to beat the passive index anyway, except when it comes to alternatives. So if you are interested in alternatives, I'm not too much, then maybe look for an active fund, because the difference between the returns of active versus passive is huge when it comes to the alternatives. Okay. What else? We talked about the volatility. More volatile, more stupid decisions we make as an investor. So there was another, next we get into how does the dollar cost averaging. In a rising market where the market is generally goes up, obviously if you had invested everything at the start, would have worked better. But let's say we don't do it because I don't know when the market is going to go up or down, and you don't have all the money at the upfront anyway. You get paid every 2 weeks, and that's where you invest. That's what our dollar cost averaging is. So the dollar cost averaging would have avoided the repeated missteps that investors make in timing their purchases. If you didn't time, it's like, you know what, I get paid every 2 weeks. The market is all time. I know, no, I won't invest this week. Maybe I'll wait for it to crash down and all that stuff. Just don't do that. If you're just dollar cost averaging, you would have still done better than what the investor returns would have been if they had not. So what happened? Investors added more money in 2014 and 2021, only to see their performance slide the following year because 2021 was the peak. They redeemed the assets in 2016, means they sold, retail investors sold in 2016, 2018, 2019, 2022. If you sold everything in 2022, markets are up like 65%. While it is impossible to predict future returns, narrow strategies like sector equity funds, etc., are very fickle, more volatile, more narrow. Even if you are investing in a S&P 500, do know how approach is like dollar cost averaging when investing there. It is worthwhile to do dollar cost averaging. Don't try to time the market. Final conclusion. Underperformed the average fund by 1.1%, which is almost equal to 15% of the overall returns. In other words, investors failed to capture around 15% of their funds returns, right, which is a huge amount. How can investors capture a greater share? The study findings yield some insights into, as an investor, what steps should we take? Less is more. If only one lesson that you want to take away from the study is, don't try to become too cute. Don't try to sell it when you think it is a top or buy it when it is a bottom, right? If you have invested, stay invested in it and do your context counts. This is because allocation funds works best because they have a dollar cost averaging built into it. All your salaries, etc., go at every 2 weeks. They get into these standard allocation funds. No maintenance is needed. Fees do matter, but up to a certain point. One reason why we don't give our funds to a fund manager or to professional manager is cash. You're gonna take like 1.5%. That's a big amount of fee. Right? But if we do a stupid stuff of trying to time the market, probably it would have been better to give it to the fund manager who would have just bought and hold. So fee do matter, but up to a certain point, if you don't do the stupid things, right? Convenience comes at a cost. ETFs are very convenient. You can buy it. You can trade ETF whole the time when the market is open. Mutual funds only trade at the NAV at the end of after the market is closed, right? But ETFs are very convenient. That's why they are so popular, because you can trade it 24 by not whenever the market is open, you can come in and out. But that comes with a cost, and the cost is you're getting a lower dollar returns because you're trading it more. So that was a really, really interesting one to see how we as a retail investors are just throwing away the advantage of a low fee, or not making full use of advantage of a low fee, because we're trying to trade in and out of it. So if you look at an ETF, they'll say my expense ratio is what, right? 0.07%. Oh, that's the lowest fee. I should buy this ETF. But what's the point in buying that ETF if you are trying to trade in and out and underperform the equivalent mutual fund? Might as well give to the fund owner and don't do anything. So there was an interesting quote. Now I can relate after this study. There was a quote which Jack Bogle had done, during his period, saying he was a little bit. That's why the Vanguard don't have ETFs. Vanguard was never a big fan of ETFs. Most of the time they have a mutual funds, because Jack Bogle was a little concerned, saying if the thing is tradable, people will trade it and they will fritter away the advantage that these ETFs give. And now I know why he said what he said. We investors just don't have a good control on ourselves and are giving up the advantages that ETF offer in terms of low fee by trying to time the market, and hence getting into underperformance as compared to some of the maybe other active managed fund. So that was a little bit eye-opening study. And I know many of we want to be swing trader. Who doesn't like the concept of selling high and buying low? Everyone, that's the whole mantra of investing, right? Sell high, buy low. Doesn't really work if you're just trying to time it in a short term. So that's I just wanted to share the study. In case if you are itching to maybe you can outsmart the market and do it better. Doesn't really work out. All right, what else? Yeah.
My mom said don't time the market, so I bought HP with Mark Hurd at I think 30 or 40, and then Mark Hurd got fired.
Yeah, but you missed out the previous portion, right? Manage your company, look at what's happening with the company and earnings and the business. Buy and hold doesn't mean that you forget about it, right? So very clear. When I say buy and hold, doesn't mean you forget about the company. You have to, if you buy a good business, you have to make sure that it is still a good business. Number two, position size still matters. You bought a great business, it's a 50% of your portfolio. You never know. CEO can just come under bus. Who knows? Right? So all those things still apply. Here we are even talking about funds. Here we are not even looking at individual companies. We're talking about probably the funds, which have got multiple companies. So you don't have a company specific risk. And investors still goof up in this one just because we are so tempted to trying to time the market. All right, so that was the last topic. 12:25. Can hang around for another 5 minutes. Questions? Anything else you want to discuss? Talk about? What else did you see in the market? Nothing else? All good? Yeah, we have a thin crowd, obviously, because we changed the schedule. A lot of people might have something else planned for Sunday. So that's fine. We'll get back to our schedule on next Saturday. Cool. No other questions? Any other? So next Saturday, we'll go through IBM. So we'll look at IBM. Any thoughts on CEG? What is CEG? I'm not invested in this company, so I don't know. Oh, I do want to bring about one. I think maybe I tweeted about that. CEG. Oh, Constellation Energy. Yeah, I mean, all utilities companies are ripping, and Constellation Energy is in a nuclear power. Isn't this is the one that owns the 3 Mile, Three Island, whatever? The Microsoft had bought that nuclear power plant. I think that's where the stock had actually jumped. But it's a AI play, and that's why it is so hot. I've not looked into the company. I don't want to own utilities or a growth because it's a regulated company. You can't grow your prices it has to be approved by a government. It could be utilities are generally good for your dividend income because they have a pretty a decent outlook into the regular income stream, so they're a good dividend play. Today it is hot because of the AI. So want to be careful. I don't want to own, let's say, utilities or any utility company for next 30, 40 years. So not kind of my type of a company. But right now, all the utility companies are hot because of AI. The bigger question is, when the AI stuff cools down, what happens to these? So let's wait for maybe a couple of quarters to see their results and how their sales, etc., are going. Does that justify the pricing which these companies are commanding? One more thing that came to my mind. I think someone in our session last year had asked about Faraday Electric Intelligent, FEIF or FIEF, Faraday. I don't know in which. Yeah. Okay. I think FFI, Faraday Future Intelligent something. I think this was maybe a EV or something. Someone asked me, what do you think about the stock? And I think it was last year. The stock was like being higher and all that. I'm like, EVs are EVs. I'm not except Tesla, pure EV, Tesla, maybe Rivian are the only two companies which if I were to dip my feet, I will do it. I'm not too big fan of it. So stock was, I don't know in what context it came in, but what I was surprised to know, I'm like, stock is still $2. What's happening with it? Until I realized that if I expand back, they've been doing a lot of stock splits. If you account for all the stock splits, stock should have been 163,000 from 163,000 of high to now at $2.51. Right? So anything which is new and hot may not be a great business. Let them prove themselves. Then we'll see. We will have an opportunity to invest later. Don't worry. And the stock goes, I think maybe somewhere here, because the stock went up to not here, I think 2022 or somewhere. I remember someone brought up of F, and haven't heard about this company. I'm like, what is this company? Yeah, I think that it's got a huge run up. Anyway, yeah, it was over there. So be careful. There are a lot of hot companies will be in the market. You really don't know who is really hot because there's a pump and dump going on. That's why I don't really do micro caps. Those stocks could be, moved by action of a few individual investors. So, but this is an interesting chart. I didn't realize that like a stock split over years, that means $163,000 is now at $2. Anyway, I hope you didn't invest in it. Or if you invested in it, it was anyway a gamble. So it's okay. 1%, 2% doesn't really matter. Just don't bet your farms on new hot thing. Alrighty, I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining on an off schedule session. Really appreciate it. Next week we're gonna get back to the schedule. So I will share some of the new things that I've learned in my conference that I attended yesterday, and yeah, we'll talk about IBM and anything else that I find interesting next week. Bye-bye. What conference? So last week, Niyanka had mentioned there's a Charles Schwab had a market ride or ride the market. So it's like a 1 day full conference, and I attended that. There are is one thing, a couple of things I learned, which is what I'll come and share next week. Cool. Alrighty. Talk to you all.